Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. Today, we're going to talk about Shang-Chi, the newest card coming to Marvel Snap, the Spotlight card, the Snap Pack card, the card that you can get for yourself for either 6,000 tokens or 5,000 tokens in a seasonal Snap Pack. The new Shang-Chi is a powerful addition to Marvel Snap, a 3/5. This Master of Rings has a game start ability. It gives the 10 rings a card that starts in your hand. And then, if you draw and play Shang-Chi before you play the 10 rings, at any point with playing the 10 rings, it's going to unlock the potential of the 10 rings. So, the 10 rings, without playing Shang-Chi, are an on reveal. Give one of your other cards here +1 power. That's really great with a lot of cards. Now, on turn 2, there's not a million cards you really want to give +1 power, but you're not required to play this on turn 2. You can play this on any other turn as an extra buff on a card like a Sebastian Shaw, turning that +1 to a +3. But right on curve, you have optionality. Stay tuned for our best deck with this card to talk about what that optionality is. I think we came up with a meta take on this card. But in addition, once we play Shang-Chi, it really gets OP. At this point, we have a 2/2. End of turn, give your other cards here +1 power. So if we want to take a Captain Carter and give it massive power, if we want to make a Brood, we've got our own personal turn-by-turn buff for that card. This is going to be absolutely huge as a power spike for buff decks and for various options in Marvel Snap. I'm so excited for the new Shang-Chi. The old Shang-Chi was extremely strong, but there's a few caveats here. The thing to know is that game start, the 10 ring starts in your hand, that's going to mean that the 10 rings is going to actually replace a draw like Quicksilver. That's going to make it harder to draw specific cards in your deck, so you're taking a trade-off for this powerful ability. The ability is strong, but there is a serious trade-off for it that's going to make this a harder card to play, and you're going to have to know what you want to do with it. Alright, I want to tell you about the decks that you can play with this card. We're going to start with a Silver Surfer deck. Shang-Chi is a 3-cost card. 3-cost cards, as we know, are really powerful in Silver Surfer. Well, if we have an automatic 2-drop in Silver Surfer, we can run Silver Surfer with Quicksilver. Then we run Shang-Chi, we have a million 3-drops. Any game we see Wiccan Curve is immediately going to be on. If you spent all your energy on previous turns, +2 max energy. That is impossible not to hit if we hit Wiccan outside of some locations messing us up for this deck. We have Quicksilver on 1. We will always have the 10 rings on 2, and every other card in the deck is a 3-drop. We have to have drawn 1, which means we can play a 3-cost card into Wiccan, leading to a ton of energy. We also get extra benefit out of Shang-Chi in this list in numerous ways. We love buffing Brood. We love buffing Captain Carter. We love buffing Maverick. We love buffing Shaw. Any of those cards hit by an awakened 10 rings, an activated 10 rings, is going to be extremely strong. What else can we do with this card? That's not remotely all. We can also play Victoria Hand. Victoria Hand says your cards that were created in your hand have +2 power. Well, what if the 10 rings, guess what, created in your hand? Let's give it +2 or more power. We can always copy Victoria Hand. We can play that card with Frigga. We can play the 10 rings with Frigga. If we're going to play Shang-Chi, getting +2 to every card in location, or getting +1 to every card in multiple locations, it seems extremely strong. Of course, we're going to consistently want the Wiccan curve with this, and if we have Wiccan, we can run a higher curve with our Victoria Hand deck. We can run cards like Bastion, which is going to add 2 to 3 cards of 2 cost and 3 power to our hand. We can run cards like Cosmic Ghost Rider, which is going to give us an answer to mirrors. We can even run this deck differently. We can cut all of the ones except maybe Shang-Chi and Frigga. We can cut Quicksilver, we can cut Shadow King, we can cut Agent Coulson, we can even cut Stardust. Instead of these cards, we can run a bunch of 1-drops, right? We can run Quinjet, we can run Maria Hill, we can run even like a Snow Guard, cards that Victoria Hand are going to buff that are going to add this extra ability and viability to our hands as we have this deck. We can run it either way. Either way, the key is Victoria Hand and Shang-Chi. Victoria Hand getting multiple buffs out of the deck thanks to Shang-Chi. Finally, my favorite deck, the one that I'm most excited about, the one that I had the most success with when I was testing this card, is a combination of a Wiccan list and a Shu Lao deck. Now, Shu Lao decks are already running a bunch of 1-drops. We want to run Kitty Pryde, America Chavez, Agony. We want cards that generate cards, so we have extra ways to play multiple cards on one turn. Well, the best card for that is Clea. When this card gains power, add a Flames Faltine to your hand. Flames Faltine is a 1-cost skill that gives -3. The ability to do that with Clea means that anytime we play Clea on 1, we're always going to be able to buff it on 2, get an extra 1-drop, which is amazing in enabling Shu Lao, which is amazing in enabling a Wiccan Curve. Once we get that 1-drop out, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3-drops, which means we should almost always have that Wiccan Curve and be able to turn that card on. Further, this deck is really built to enable you to not even have to do that. What we can do is we can play, say, a Kitty Pryde on 1. Then we can play an Agony and Clea on 2. On turn 3, we can play that. We can play those 10 rings on Clea, and then turn 4 Wiccan, and then we are hitting multiple cards every turn. From there, we have access to a last turn Shu Lao and Shang-Chi, for example. Extremely powerful plays, extremely powerful buffs with our extra energy from Wiccan that's going to enable these powerful plays for one of the best decks in the game. This deck is built around the different things that Shang-Chi and Shu Lao can buff. In fact, this is ultimately a buff deck. Almost every card of the deck is about either buffing or about wanting to take those buffs. Kitty Pryde ends up taking buffs and buffing herself, right? Then we have America Chavez, a card that's going to buff whatever the top part of the deck is. Agony buffs whatever you play on top of her. Clea wants to take those buffs in order to give you a Flames of Faltine, extremely strong. From there, we have the Brood. Brood loves taking buffs. If Brood takes a buff before it's in play, then it will immediately amplify those buffs as the Broodlings each get those buffs. Captain Carter, if we can play cards behind it, we'll get those buffs. One of the beautiful things about Carter will be Maverick, we'll talk about soon. Marvel Boy makes all of our 1-drops threats, especially Clea. From there, we have Maverick. Maverick is the ultimate buff card. Hopefully you got this card because this card is absolutely amazing right now in Marvel Snap. Maverick takes those buffs and then gives it to something else, including if Maverick is right behind that Captain Carter. It's a beautiful thing. You play Carter, you play and Maverick, and another card, and then you play Maverick behind it, and Maverick is already giving away 5 power. Shang-Chi helps buff all these cards that want buffs because it's giving us an extra card, right? It's giving us an extra power, an extra option at 3/5 where it's just good stats. We have Scarlet Spider, which takes the buffs, doubles them. The single best new target for our new best card in Marvel Snap, a card that you really should be buying, the Season Pass card. Wiccan doesn't buff, just gives us the energy to play all this crazy power in the deck. And of course, then we have the current best card of Marvel Snap, in my personal opinion, Shu Lao the Undying. Hopefully you get this card. I think the Season Pass card right now is the best card of the game, and it's going to go amazingly with this card, Shang-Chi. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next one. Appreciate you.